Brutus Monroe channel. This is Annie Collins. Today we're going to create two cards, a hello and a birthday, using the same products. Let's go over the products I did use. This is the Antique Trellis Mixed Media Stencil. It's got these nice open spaces. It's just really pretty. We're going to use the stamp set called Botanical Banners. We'll be using this floral, and from this we'll be also using the Happy Birthday. We're going to bring in Judy's Wreath die set. We're going to use some of these sprigs and the hello, and along with the shadow die. This has got beautiful blooms and a wreath you can use, and the sentiment that says hello. All right, we're all going to set that off to the side, and we're also going to use our stick and stamp mat. We're going to use this for our stencil and for our candy coat, and we're going to use this candy coat in teal. So I went ahead and stamped and colored my florals, and I used this nice soft yellow. I thought it would go nicely with the teal. I hope it colored those roses, and I fussy cut them. Here are our little sprigs that I cut out, and I used some shimmering cardstock in a soft green. We have a 110-pound card base, and that's going to be a side folding card base, and some black cardstock here. And we have our perfect blend cardstock, and I'm going to use that for our stencil. And I have a piece of shimmering black cardstock here that I use to die cut our sentiment, which is the hello. And I use some Brutus Monroe Vellum here for our shadow. Okay, so I went ahead and I die cut those ahead of time. I cut them twice out of the black cardstock and the shadow ones, and I'm going to do it one more time on screen just to show you how easy it is to cut that out of this shimmering cardstock. So let's get started with our project. I'm going to start with our stick and stamp mat. I removed the backing, the protective layer off of it, and I'm going to place my cardstock onto it, and now I'm going to place my antique trellis stencil on it. And as you can see, you don't need any magnets or tape or anything to hold your stencil in place, because that's what the stick and stamp mat does for you. So I'm going to go ahead and put the candy coat, and I put a nice layer of it, and I'm not going to go too thick. I'm going to go like a medium, not too thin, not too thick. And I'm just using an old gift card here just to spread that nice and even. So I'm going to put away any of my extra candy coat here, remove my stencil, and then I'll gently remove my card stock off my stick and stamp mat. So I'm just going to set my mat to the side for a second so I can take a piece of layering gray cardstock, and I'm just going to go ahead and place my stencil onto it with the candy coat side down. So now I'm going to get a twofer out of that candy coat and stencil, because you don't want to waste it, so that's a good way to do it. Just place it onto another piece of cardstock. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and die cut our hello. Like I said, I previously cut it twice. I'm just going to show you how easy this and smooth these dies cut. I mean, just beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and layer these all up using a little bit of adhesive in between my layers here. I'm using some Barely Art glue, and I'm just going to stack them up, just creating a nice thick stack. And this cuts out the word in two segments, which is fine, because then that way you can layer it onto your shadow. And if you're not using the shadow, just lay them next to each other onto your project. It's just because of the way the script is, it's just so beautifully, it's a beautiful script. And it's nice and thin, which I like, because it won't take up a lot of space on your card. Alright, so I'm going, like I said, I'm stacking all these together using a little Barely Art glue in between the layers, and then just basically creating like a chipboard out of these cardstock layers. And then I'm going to adhere that onto our shadow, which is cut out of Brutus Monroe Vellum. Putting some little thin dots, go ahead and layer that on, and then just going to set that to the side. Trying to get the camera to focus on the shimmering cardstock. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled my panel off. Now that it's dry. And you can see the candy coat has these big chunky pieces of glitter in it. And it's, along with smaller ones, is so pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and trim about 1/8 of an inch all around my panel here, so that I can layer this onto the black cardstock. This candy coat is just a beautiful color. I love all the dimension and texture you get from all the little chunks of glitter and other little pieces that are in there. So I'm going to use some again, Barely Art glue to adhere this onto my black panel. I have a little something there, so I'm trimming it off. I guess it didn't cut that smooth. I think I'm due for a new trimmer. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to our card base. And now I'm going to bring in our florals, which I have some foam adhesive on the back, removing the backing off of that, so I can adhere this to my bottom left corner. I'm going to go ahead and now use my Barely Art glue to adhere those little sprigs that I've cut out of shimmering green cardstock here. This is Sizzix shimmering cardstock. I don't remember the name of it actually, so I'll look it up and put it on the description box below. Like always, I'll have everything in the description box below for you so that you can easily find them with links to the shop. So I'm just going to tuck those in between, so you have that stamped image and those little sprigs sticking out right there on top of all this beautiful texture that the candy coat has created along with the stencil. So now I'm going to go ahead and adhere our sentiment, just putting a little bit of adhesive on the back of that, trying to tuck my H under that top floral there, pressing that in place. And then I'm going to bring in some clear gems and some little gold gems. I'm going to place those there. The clear ones are perfect to place right on top of the candy coat. That way they will stick beautifully onto the candy coat will show through. And actually those aren't gold gems, those are little sequins from the Bunny Hugs sequin mix. I'm sorry about that. Alright, so here's that other one. So we're going to create now sort of more a masculine looking card. So since it's on the gray with the teal, we're going to go ahead and again, we trimmed that little about 1/8 of an inch. We're going to adhere that to a black layering cardstock. We're going to adhere this to our card base. This will be, and then I went ahead from this Botanical banner set. I stamped the sentiment that says Happy Birthday. Put a little adhesive on the back of that. I also backed that onto some black cardstock. And then I put some adhesive on that. I'm adding some black gems. And now you have 2 cards out of 1 project time. So these cards both together took me about 30 minutes, and that's including drying time. So I didn't put like a lot of heaviness onto our candy coat. So the products I used were the Stick and Stamp Mat, Judy's Wreath, the Botanical banners, and the Antique Trellis, along with the candy coat in Teal, some Gina K ink, and our Raven ink to stamp. Thank you so much, and I hope you found some inspiration.